Welcome to Psychic Girls Next Door. We are your hosts, Lili Hibarino
and Shannon Miller. This podcast is for all spirituality enthusiasts and psychics next door to share tools, experiences, and spiritual practices that align with your highest vibrational self.
So on this episode, we will be sharing our experiences with Reiki II, and also some updates on some recent changes and transitions in our lives. So first, we just want to share, what we've experienced with Reiki II. And I'm trying to just recollect what we learned. So we had a Reiki II training with the same teacher that we did Reiki I. And again, we'll just kind of link her information in the show notes. Again, she's incredible. Mm-hmm. Danielle is amazing. It's an amazing teacher. And we just knew it. We knew it. We were ready for Reiki II. We were just ready to dive in and learn some more. But I found that Reiki II was not as intense as Reiki I.
Yeah, it wasn't. I can agree with you on that. But yeah, from your experience, why do you say that?
I think energetically, I don't know if so Reiki II, there's not as many attunements as Reiki I. So Reiki I, you had 4 attunements, and in Reiki II, you only have 1. So there's of course, there's the theory of it that we go into, learning more about how to draw this Japanese symbols that, so the symbols, they have a vibration that helped you connect on a deeper level with the energy of Reiki. And also she talked about, setting up a business as a Reiki practitioner. So here in the West, once you are certified Reiki II, you can also practice, professionally. So she also went through setting up a business and all that, which I also thought it was very helpful to learn. But I think, I know that I shifted energy that day, and we learned also to move energy in different parts of our body. And that was really interesting to kind of explore that, because I haven't done that,
Yeah. And we did remote healings on someone of who we had previously set up. Or even some people did cats, which I thought that was really cute and cute.
It's super
cool.
cute.
Oh, it's super cute. But cute and cool. Because I'm a cat lady. But yeah, it was an interesting experience. I love Danielle. She's awesome. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend her if you are curious about taking a Reiki workshop and diving into this space. Because we talked about in a previous episode, I had no idea what it would be. I am familiar with what Reiki is, and I've had it done on me in the past, but I didn't really know what I was getting into. And now I'm cool. It's another tool. It's a really cool, spiritual framework that we can utilize to facilitate healing. Similar to our aura readings, similar to if you are in other, if you practice tarot or different other types of spiritual gathering information for people who you are reading. Different frameworks typically work for that. But yeah, Reiki, it is a very highly attuned. I did not mean to do that pun. Really highly attuned spiritual framework from what I experienced. And in the last attunement as part of Reiki II, I saw a few things. I'm trying to remember what, if I saw anything. I think the first time I was whoa. And now I'm oh, okay, this feels right. It felt a lot more grounded, and maybe that's because I felt more educated and sort of experience with practicing Reiki on ourselves and, the hand placements on the body and practicing on other people. I've practiced on my sister, and I've practiced on my roommate a few times. And I think the more you practice, the better it'll be. For me, before I practice as, an aspect of my business, I really want to practice on people in hospices, because that is a thing. Like, you can volunteer at hospice centers and practice on people who are close to transitioning out of their physical bodies and being ready to move on to the next chapter. And that's actually come up this week. I don't want to change topics, but I'm in a minister's class at the psychic school that Lily and I went to, and this week was we have to pick a religion to learn, and essentially, like, you know, what information resonates, what doesn't. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna research shamanism. And so we were researching essentially, like, what is this concept of the afterlife, and shamans is transition. They can help with the transition from this life to the next, which I'm like, oh, that reminds me of what people do at hospice centers when they're practicing Reiki on people who may not, you know, it's not essentially just focused on death, but this concept of death in the afterlife has been popping up a lot for me in the past couple weeks, especially taking this class. And like attracts like, right? Like, even I'm not death, but just this closing out of cycles and closing out of, you know, like, if you were to get to the death card in the tarot deck, which I'm going to give Lily a reading after this episode, death is like this concept of like closures and transitions. And I think in Reiki, you can also serve as part of your healing facilitation. It can be not only like physical healing, but spiritual healing. And some people may need that before they transition to the afterlife, or this concept of the afterlife, which I find very, very fascinating. And it's kind of like, you don't really realize all these things are happening in your realm or your existence, right? Until you start speaking them into existence. And I find that just, you know, sharing with all of you live listening, that this has been the vibe of my my inner realm of the past couple of weeks of just learning and researching and diving into Reiki, diving into, you know, just learning about shamanism. I'm not practicing shamanism in any way. Very interested though. So if y'all listening have any resources for me,
or if you are a shaman yourself,
exactly,
we would love to have you on our podcast. We are very curious,
yes,
to learn more about the shamanic arts and healing arts, being a shaman, because I know there are many different healing modalities, and what I think, like Shannon and I, we're trying to also share with everyone is that there's not only one way of healing yourself, or there's only one modality that is gonna, this is the answer to all your problems. But there's just so many different modalities and practices and different professionals that might do even like a combination of all the above that we have, we have mentioned. Like, even for ourselves, as, you know, we've been trained as clairvoyant healers, and we've learned like a set of tools and techniques, but we're also evolving and growing. So that means that we also want to learn different things, different tools, different techniques, you know, outside of what we have already learned. So it's just, I think it's also bringing and incorporating more value, you know, into your life. And, you know, as Shannon mentioned, she's like, I guess her energy is like resonating with this, maybe shamanism, or looking more into the like afterlife or transitions, you know, and you kind of want to follow that. Like, where is your attention going? Because your energy is just going to follow that, and just kind of following where your intuition is guiding you, because there's some information in there.
Yeah. And then, like, I was like, when I was researching shamanism, I was like, this sounds like a death doula, because that's also a newer career, I guess.
It actually is.
Yeah.
There are people that are trained to become that. As much as there is a birth doula, there is a death doula too, which is really interesting, because I think both, you know, birth and death, as I see it also in the spirit sense of things, the spiritual ways, it's just, for me, it's just transitions.
Yeah.
It's just a transition from one, one physical body to the next, or from one plane dimensions to the next. Because as we go on with our lives, we're so attached to this physical, right?
Right.
The body.
The 3D.
Just this, in this 3D mentality. And, but we're so much more than that. We're so much more. I just call my body, it's like a spacesuit. That's what it is.
I love that.
And I'm just like here exploring Earth, right?
I call it a meat sack, and probably a little bit grosser.
But we're just like here to explore and learn. We're here to learn, in this physical plane. But interesting that, as we train in Reiki II, and now we're gonna go for a Reiki master.
Yes.
Which
next weekend.
Yeah. As you'll be listening to this episode, it would, we've already passed. But again, I don't know what to expect either. I know that Reiki masters, when you train to attune others and also maybe teach Reiki. Mm-hmm. And I think, I don't know about you, Shannon, but I think I'm in the space where I just want to open myself up just to learn, just learning new things. And I don't know if that's something I am going to be actually doing it. It's as in my business practice, but I think it's just opening up to new information.
Yeah.
Just seeing things from a different perspective. And connecting with people their mind because as we've mentioned in our episode on Reiki, I think it's episode 5. Oh, hint,
go back and listen.
Go check it out if you haven't yet.
Yeah.
But there's also other people in the class too. They're also in the same, energy, and they also want to learn, and people with so many different backgrounds. It's just been so great meeting them too, and connecting with those people, and we also learn from them, from their experiences in that same environment.
Community. I think this theme of community has been popping up for me in this space of being a psychic, and I'm hopeful that this podcast can be just one of many outlets to continue to build the sense of spiritual community and attract the people who also not in a sense of the concept of people named John hiring John in the workplace, but attracting people who want to grow and be a facilitator if you're healing, be a vessel for healing, be open to different information, expansive information. I love when I meet someone and they say something or a concept or an idea, and it just radically shifts my perspective, kind of shakes me to the core in a way of holy hell, this is something. And I think this community of people, there's something there. It feels like this is just the start of a really cool modality that we can practice as part of being, facilitators for healing in our everyday lives. And if you haven't gotten a Reiki reading, go check it out if you're curious, but only if it feels right for you. Because I hadn't really thought much about Reiki itself. I did not do any research before diving in, but that is very me. I am just, let's do it. Let's wing it and we're going to figure it out. But if you feel like you need to do research on it, you need to go dive in thoroughly. There's sources out there, dive in.
We're just one of many sources, and one of many also podcasts too that maybe you listen. And you've noticed, through our episodes, Shannon and I were not people that are here to give you advice.
No.
Or or tell you what to do with your life. We're not therapists. We're not in the space where as psychologists. None of that. I think what is our intention is just to show you from our experiences too, how we have doubt, even going through new experiences such as either Reiki or any other healing modality, even being in this podcast space. It's just it's all very new, and it's just unknown territory that we're exploring. But I just think it's just being open being open to it and understanding that, and life is all about the changes. I mean, if you don't change your perspective, if you don't change your limiting beliefs, how are we going to grow and evolve? You just kind of stay in the same place.
Yeah. Yeah. And that brings us to like this other
Yes.
the topic of change and transition. And so change is defined as the situations and occurrences that impact organizations and individuals. And organizations can be up to interpretation, whether it's like a community of people, it's just, a gathering of people essentially. And change creates the need to move from the way things used to be to the way they are now. Such as like getting a new boss, a new move to, work from home environment, a shift in a policy. Adapting to change requires flexibility. That's all kind of like more geared towards the workplace, but you can apply that to your life of like change can be a really positive thing. I thrive in change. Put me in, throw it at me. Like I'll figure it out. I can adapt. I think it also depends on like your astrological chart and human design. A lot of different frameworks go into it. I have a lot of air and fire in my astrological chart, even though I am a Cancer sun. And I think like my Gemini moon makes me very adaptable at change and kind of thrive with it. And I also have a Sagittarius rising, but going through that change and, or just any changes in general, like whether it be like work, home, romance, like, meeting new people, having to like getting laid off or anything like that. Like those can all be seen. I think your perspective and your perception of how this change is going to impact your life has a lot to do with like how you're going to take it. As you're either going to take it as like a blow in some way, or you're going to take it as an opportunity. And I'm definitely an opportunist. I identify as that. So I think it's when change hits me in any way, I feel like very, very like, okay, that was not meant for me. Let's move on to the next. And like, let go and release some of the information that came through that change, or like I always see things as meant to be. But yeah, like how would you describe like change for you? Or
yeah, well, it's interesting, and I love how you have perceive change and how you roll with it, right?
Yeah.
Roll with the changes. And for me, it's interesting because I've learned how to roll with changes, and I've learned how to like navigate the changes in my life. I am a creature of a habit. Okay. I was just going to be honest. I am a creature of habit. I've had a lot of changes in my life that were incredibly challenging. And I think it's also like how you view the changes, how you go with the changes, and the changes that it affects you in so many different ways. And I had this belief that changes were always followed by something that was, I'm going to say quote unquote negative. So it was just like, oh, it's bad. Oh no, things are just going to happen for the worse. And I had this belief because it was kind of how I was raised. Oh no, if change happens, that's not a good thing, so it's like never rocking the boat. So I had this association with change. So as I moved into my adult life, anytime there was a change coming or I was going through a change, I was already dreading that. I was like, oh, no, I don't like this. Why things were fine the way they were? But again, those changes, they were pushing me to be better, to grow and to evolve. And I didn't really like realize until, a few years ago, as I started like, going to this healing process, and just start perceiving also change as like a catalyst,
Yeah.
just a catalyst for, more expansive opportunities, connections maybe.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of where I see change now. And again, like in life, it's all about changes.
It happens. It's happening every day.
So it's happening every day. I mean, every time you make a choice in your life, whether you make the choice or you don't make a choice, it's still a choice.
Yeah.
Right. So every time you make a choice, it's still, it's going to play a part in some sort of change in your life, whatever that might be. And I think, humanity itself went through a huge change in this last 2 years, right? As we are going through this pandemic, and people went through these changes in many different ways and impacted people in so many different ways. And now that we're going to transition, we're slowly transitioning to like the quote unquote normal life, because it's not normal anymore.
It's different. Yeah. I feel like everyone's trying to get back to normal, but like, what is normal?
What is it? What was normal? Normal wasn't working.
No, normal was not working.
It wasn't working. So basically, I want to say like change is a lot. It's situational, right? And transition is more like the psychological, right? So transition itself is just that internal psychological process that you adapt to a new situation. And transition can happen quickly or slowly. And I don't think transition has a timeline.
No.
It can happen in many different ways, different situations. So it's just the process that you move from something old and maybe something that was no longer serving you, something that was like in the past, pastime information, that's how we call it, or pastime energy, to something new. And for some people, because of the uncertainty of that, people have a lot of fear around making changes in their lives or even starting something new, because that requires change too.
Right.
So there's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of people also attach their identity.
Oh my gosh, that can be such a hard thing to, not to put like constrictions around this or like information in other people's face, but I feel like, so I'll share with all of you, like I was recently let go from my last employer, and I feel like I had been manifesting being laid off for a while on a subconscious level. Like, there were things about that workplace that they were no longer serving me. And but for me, I have this like information in my space about like, and I hear my parents' information when I say this out loud. I just hear their voices like, well, you can't quit a job without having a job. And like, that has been such like, literally that was what was making me stay. And like, I had been interviewing and just like nothing felt right. Like I got an offer, but then it wasn't like essentially like worth it for me, to like leave my current role. And I see like, but I wasn't really happy there either. So I see like this as a great opportunity, because I am an opportunist and I love change. I see it as like, this is literally the universe plucking me out of a work environment that no longer served me and making me have space to focus on finding a role that makes sense for me and is going to help me through my transition to where I need to be next in my life. So that's, you can have a perception of like, I could be like, oh, woe is me. That is never me though. I'm not that type of gal. And if you are that type of person, dig deep and figure out, why are you in that pitfall of the woe is me? Because like you can see, if some people will see if losing their job as an epic loss because they put their identity into that role.
Yeah, well, they think that their job is what they are.
Right.
It's like it's what they are at the core, in which you're not.
No, it's just a job. It's an outlet. It's a way for you to get money. And in this realm of the world of existence, money pays for everything. Like it pays for goods and services, and it's a gateway to live a lifestyle in a specific way, whether you have a little bit of it or a lot of it. So I see as like energy is currency, but also money is energy. And I feel like on another episode, we should definitely explore the energy around money. But when it comes to change and transition, I think like perspective and having a community of people, like I had so many of my friends at work, my work besties, I have a few of them. They all called me. They reached out to me immediately. And I literally, like, I also psychically knew the day before that I was going to get laid off. Like, I just knew. And I'm like, oh, it's time. And I was okay with it. Like, of course I cried and processing it on some emotional level. Like, like, I don't know, but it was like only a few tears. It wasn't that. I'm like surprised. I'm like not that much. And it's interesting. I feel like I have this belief that I should be more upset about it, but I'm not.
Well, I think you were in a different headspace too,
Yeah.
right? And it's interesting, like, because people grieve in different ways, and it's okay if you're not sad about it at all. Maybe you're relieved about.
Oh my God, I'm so relieved.
So permission.
My evil laugh.
So just like give yourself permission just to grieve as you feel it's appropriate for you, letting go of that, because it was just probably...
I felt all the cortisol leave my body.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's just like it was not meant to be anymore. And, whenever you get rid of things that are no longer serving you, you are making space and creating space for something new and better.
Exactly.
To come in and just match this new space. So I think this is one of the bigger lessons too that I have learned as I went through a lot of changes in my life. As you've probably you've listened to all of our episodes, and we've mentioned a lot of the changes that we've been through on a personal level, spiritual level, emotional level. There's been a lot of changes and just coping with the changes, and but I think I also changed the way that the questions that I ask around the changes. Instead of asking why is this happening to me, I always try to look at it okay, but what is it trying to teach me?
Mm-hmm.
What is the lesson behind me? How can I take this opportunity and transcend or transform into something else? And just kind of just try to observe, what is it? What is it? What a universe, God, or whatever you believe in, what is it trying to show me? Because it's clearly just trying to show you or give you information. That's basically what it is. It's kind of like when you are, when you're decluttering a house.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And there's things that make sense and things that don't make sense anymore. Mm-hmm. It's kind of that same way. And some things you just kind of have to let go to make space for newer things.
Exactly. If the vibes ain't vibing, clean your hands of it. Get rid of it. Cut things out that no longer serve you. And sometimes the universe makes that decision for you. I feel like my spirit guides were like, girl, you've been sitting on this idea for a long time, and we're going to just make that decision for you. And that can be a very jarring experience. But for me, I'm just flowing with it and just riding the wave and feeling very grateful. So
that's great.
Yeah, that's how I'm processing it.
Great space to be.
Yeah.
This energy of gratitude.
Yeah.
And we're grateful for all of you that are listening to us, because even being podcast hosts, it's a big change too.
Yeah.
In our normal space. And talking about these topics too, it's a big change from being able to express ourselves in a way that we feel safe and that we feel that it aligns with us. So grateful that you took the time to listen to this episode. And if you're going through any changes or transitions, we are rooting for you.
Yes, we're here for you. We want you to feel supported. If you would like to reach out to us to chat, to get a reading, a healing, Reiki, whatever. We're here for you. And just kind of sit. What my friend Sarah, she always says, just sit with your feelings. We kind of make a joke oh, I guess I got to just sit with my feelings. And we were, mainly referencing it in terms of dating situations that didn't work out, but it can apply to anything that you're feeling. If you're feeling some kind of way about some situation, a change, a transition that you're going through, sometimes you do have to sit with your feelings and just giving yourself permission, as Lily said, to sit with your feelings and let yourself have that space to ride the wave of that transition. Because you're going to find something new and better, and everything that's meant to be will be. I'm a true believer in that. So just, kind of ride the wave and see what happens.
Well, things, they always happen to you how the universe sees us as more like, oh, this is what she needs.
Yes.
Instead of like what we want.
Right.
You know, I'm thankful actually that what I wanted didn't fully happen, because quite honestly, I'm like, oof, okay, I
Dodged a bullet.
dodged a big bullet. But it happened exactly how I needed, and everything brought you to where you are today. So just validate yourself for being where you are today. You know, you're an amazing human being, and we're all doing our best. And just grateful again, you know, that you're joining us in this episode and listening to us. Yes, please do reach out, and we look forward to hearing from you, and look forward to our next episode.
Thank you so much from the Psychic Girls Next Door.
Bye bye.